Hello, everyone. This is Tukan from LeadSift here. Today, we have a stellar group of marketers and demand generation experts to help us talk through some of the challenges marketers are facing currently with the current crisis and the steps and actions that they are taking to navigate through some of these challenges while keeping their pipeline growing. So I have been joined here by Heather from Demand Frontier. I have Jeff from Signal Labs and Alp from Accenture. Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for you guys to spend some of your time. So before we get into the actual content, I thought a quick round of introduction will be great. So we can start with Heather. Do you want to give a quick intro?
Sure. Heather Davison, co-founder of Demand Frontier. Been in the digital transformation and demand gen space for about 20 years. And Demand Frontier is a full service digital demand gen agency out of Austin and Medellin, Colombia. And I run sales and marketing. So nice to be here.
Cool. Jeff?
Sure. Nice to meet everybody here virtually. Jeff Kosterman's been doing revenue generation for a lot longer than I'm willing to admit for firms like Wells Fargo, Oracle, Adobe, Databricks, and now I'm running demand generation and marketing ops at Signal Labs in San Francisco, which offers an impact intelligence platform to marketing and sales and really PR teams. And it measures the real-time evolution of opinion and identifies the topics, networks, and people that can shape it.
Awesome. Alp, finally to you.
Hey everyone, I'm Alp Marlu. So I'm working at Accenture, helping clients succeed in marketing sales transformations across all technologies. And before Accenture, I worked at Salesforce. And before that, I worked at Symantec, so heavy experience in demand generation, online marketing technology.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone. So for the context of this webinar, what I wanted to set some context here. So obviously, we are living in unprecedented times, but as marketers, we still have to sort of keep the machine running. We still have to do our job, drive demand, build pipeline, but at the same time, nothing is being done the same way. So you cannot just use the same playbook that you used to, run before. Things need to adapt and adapt fast. So the great thing about this panelist is not only are they expert, but they're in the front line, implementing these strategies, facing these challenges, acknowledging them, and implementing strategies in sort of real time. So for this whole session, we'll keep it more of a Q&A style discussion. With that being said, the first question I had for the group here was, a lot has changed between January 15th to April 15th. So as a marketer, what are some of the biggest difference in strategy and processes that you guys have seen change in the last 90 days? I'll start with Heather.
I think the biggest is just a full swing shift to sales enablement, where everyone's becoming an inside sales professional in their own right, like it or not. And if there's ever been a time to lean on your relationships and build up your personal brand and to really leverage those digital channels, now is it. So I see that taking place in my own pursuit of relationships and growth, but also in our clients, just putting a heavy focus on delivering engagement strategies in market that allow sales to have reasons to reach out and not have that liberty of the face-to-face interaction. So that heavy shift to making it easier for them to live in this virtual world, as I see happening across our clients and in my own life.
Great. Yeah, we have been noticing this. We were interviewing another marketer, and she mentioned that one of her priorities was sales enablement. So that's very interesting. Jeff, what are your thoughts? What are you seeing?
I think for us at Signal, I mean, the obvious one, which I think a lot of other people can relate to, is that the physical events, they've been replaced by webinars. We also recently embarked on an ABM strategy and our ABM campaign, which really consisted of a lot of things to include basically a sequence of dimensional mailers that are aligned to levels of engagement. That's been paused because people are working from home now. And I think the other thing, just regarding the marketing budget and our go-to-market strategy, we're actually kind of fortunate that our marketing budget has not been impacted since the solution that Signal offers to large enterprises really enables them to optimize and measure their corporate social responsibility strategy and boost their brand perception as they emerge from this crisis. So I would say we're just lucky that we're needed in this environment.
That's awesome. I was going to say not all marketers are that fortunate. So that's great. Alp, what are you seeing? I mean, you are at a big organization. What's the big shift in strategy and process that you're noticing?
So I'm seeing a lot of companies are getting less traffic coming in to say their website. Conversion rates are going down. Deals are being pushed out a bit. So while there's few verticals like healthcare and life science say they're having an uptick in say traffic, but most verticals not. So it's about producing the great results with less budget now in marketing, and there's certain things like advertising has gotten a bit cheaper because less people are bidding. Even though conversion rates are lower, you get a higher ROI. So I think it's narrowing down of who you're going after to produce a great results with less budget.
Yeah,
Got it.
I would mirror that.
Yeah, you are noticing the same thing, Heather, in terms of?
Absolutely. Doing more with less, and yeah, just really thinking through how every dollar is going to get leveraged for something authentic and real and more engaging.
Got it. So diving into the next question, and this is more of a tactical question, and Jeff touched on it. So I'll start with Jeff first. So the question is, a lot of digital advertisement, a lot of ABM campaigns, direct mail campaigns are based on two things. One is assuming the person works out of a physical office that you know their address of, and they have a fixed IP address that you can map them to, because that's predominantly how a lot of the digital advertisement and targeting works. So one thing we have heard from quite a few demand gen experts where they were talking about, now that people are working from home, IP matching is not working. How does that impact ABM campaigns? So, and it is specifically if you are running some form of ABM campaign. So Jeff, what are you seeing there?
So yeah, as I mentioned, we have made that shift to account-based marketing recently. And while those dimensional mailers are on hold, there definitely are still other things that we're doing in order to target these accounts. In full disclosure, we do work with LeadSift to identify intent to buy our solution, or at least a solution that's in our category. And this can take the form of interest in relevant content or even engagement with our competitors. And so since people are working from home and since Google is phasing out cookies, it's important for us to work with a firm that isn't really ISP or cookie based. So as we identify target firms with intent, we then combine those firms with known firms engaging with our content. And then we source the target titles within those firms to be enrolled in title-specific nurture tracks. And then, at the end of the day, securing adequate title coverage within those accounts, and then applying scoring and rules-based alerts that enables our ADR team to really focus on the hand raisers.
Got it. One quick question there, Jeff. You mentioned was, first of all, for the audience and everyone, that was not scripted. That was great. Thank you for the shout out there, Jeff. One question I had was, you mentioned about the gifting piece. Or direct mail or personalized gifting aspect of it. Is that on pause, or is there something else that you are doing yourself or you're seeing other marketers doing?
We paused that because again, the way that we sent out that sequence of mailers was based on hand raising activity. And when we would send those mailers out, they would typically go to a business address. Mm-hmm. And we just figured, well, it's too much effort on our end, and it slows down our ADRs to try to source the home address. Mm. So we just put that on pause.
Got it. And a lot of people would be skeptical of giving away their home address too, I guess. So following on Alp, I mean, are you seeing any challenges with this whole idea of people working from home and their IPs not matching in some of the digital marketing efforts?
Yeah, so I mean, when people were going to work, you would serve them a personalized ad, say when they were on the train or commuting, very short, bite-sized. Then you could serve them you'd serve another personalized ad during lunch. Then you would serve an ad as they went home, and and one at night. So that kind of now it's kind of the ad serving and the content offered through ads is kind of changed, that people are no longer going to work, and it's kind of a stay-at-home environment. So I think it's really just, partnering closely with sales, executing on the relationships, and finding other channels to execute email, social, and personalization through those channels. And I think Jeff gave a really good answer, and Heather has lots of good insights on ABM.
Yeah, so perfect segue to you, Heather. What are you seeing at this as a challenge of people working from home and IP matching not working and things like that?
I guess I see it more like silver lining, glass half full. I feel like, if you're going about your ABM strategy where everything is triggered off of market intent, you're gonna be limited to how and who you engage with. But I feel like if you flip that script a little bit and you partner with sales and you really have a tight union where you can identify, based on all the criteria that makes up that perfect customer for you, if you can really make a concerted effort to identify which accounts you want to go after and what types of industries, and you can nail that down to a prioritized account list. So you're not waiting for them to raise their hand, you're being proactive, and you're compiling that hit list of who you really think there's a strong connection and value. Then from there, I feel like the one I'd say just tactic missing from what we have to work with these days is the direct mail component, being able to send something personally in the mail. But there's workarounds to that. There's digital offers. There's ways that you can still, through email and such, get through with something genuine. I see most clients, and we've done this too, kind of stop with the tchotchke type offers. And it's more around delivering strategic value or consulting time or insights into things that are more business impact, and valuable, that rather than, a great, I don't know, speaker or whatever. I mean, I'm a marketer. I've tried them all. But I'd say now we're putting more of our budget and effort around creating these really unique, valuable offers that benefit the client, whether they choose to do business with you or not. And then from there, once you nail the message and the offer and what could you really offer them, and who you want to target, the accounts, there are tools and there's methodology that, that we use and a lot of people have access to then pull together that target account list and build out that contact list. And social handles are really important these days. And we've been doing this for a while. We don't put all our eggs in a physical address or a phone number or an email. Just as much we want personal email and social handles in their data profile. So I would say, LinkedIn is a beautiful tool to use in the B2B world. So we're doing a lot of coaching and playbook development with enterprise sales teams around how they leverage LinkedIn in a smarter way, given all this new reality. and how do you serve them content so that they're reaching out with something valuable to offer or say, and you're giving them kind of a shortcut to the list of the people that they really need to be courting, building relationships with, and doing it right, not just spamming. So long-winded way of saying it's same strategy is applying. The one thing that's off is you don't have that direct mail component or the physical event, shake hands, but you've got all the virtual digital touches at your disposal if aligned correctly.
Nice. That's brilliant. So moving on, one big item that a lot of marketers are thinking is content and content marketing. What kind of content do you create? Because earlier in the year, you would have built up your quarterly plan from a content perspective, top of funnel, middle funnel, things like that. How has that changed with the current crisis? I'll start with you, Heather. What you're seeing for yourself and your clients, how has the content marketing plan strategy have changed?
Besides the obvious, people are moving to virtual and webinars and such. One thing that I really like that I hope doesn't go away after this is all said and done is I like the raw, non-highly polished, the type of event we're doing here today, where you can just pull people together, have some interesting conversations, interview a client, put them on the spotlight. It doesn't have to be overly produced. And so I see a lot of people in our space and clients just shifting to being more real, just bringing in people, talking about things that are important that we think would be beneficial to others, leaning on those relationships. And we don't have the liberty right now to produce, we're big fans of interactive content, and that's not going away, but that takes a long time to build. So right now it's important to get things out fast that are real. So speed, low production, but still good quality, and just a slant towards all things digital, virtual engagement. Big shift to, virtual conference summit type engagement strategies, pretty much with all of our big accounts. We've gone into planning where we're moving money from physical events to virtual, and not just webinars, but thinking bigger than that. So that's another trend.
That's great. If I can ask a follow-up question to that, Heather, is what about those blog posts, more thought leadership, top of the funnel? What is there a change happening there? People are creating that or just scrapping that for now?
I think there's just a slower pace being adopted to where you don't have to have something out there all the time if it's really not meaningful. So a lot of people are just putting the pause, just slowing down a little bit, making sure that what they're going to put out there is not just noise, and that it's really, given everyone's headspace, it's really worthy of asking someone to spend time with it. So that's a less content, but more thought and rigor put into it, knowing what everyone's going through.
Love it.
I remember on our intro call for all of us, and Jeff, you might want to speak to this, but I remember we were talking about how, like most marketers, you've got your at least 2 quarters teed up of what you're going to be talking about. Everyone's like, it's like, okay, scratch that. We can't seem sensitive and just talk about business as usual. We need to really talk about current state and so.
No, that's brilliant. Al, from your side, what are you seeing? Has the content marketing plan changed a lot? The kind of content you're producing or creating, has it changed?
So I'm seeing more noise. There's other people producing more quality and more quantity, while with the traffic going down and conversions going down. So it's harder to reach the customer, have a conversation. There's one company, they implemented Marketing Cloud and Service Cloud, and just a flood of millions of things are coming with all the noise. And one unique thing they did is they designed the content to answer the customers' frequently asked questions, put them in buckets and playbooks, had marketing write the content, so the service agents were not writing it, so they could quickly use across service to respond to customers' issues and challenges, reply in social, and use that bucket of frequently asked questions to kind of do the search engine optimization to move ahead of competitors. So it's definitely a lot more noise. You need to be strategic of how you kind of reach your customers through content. And so it's less sales content, but more content to help the customer works better, but it's kind of how you meet the customer to get there too.
Yeah.
That's actually a brilliant idea, is taking ask customer questions from Service Cloud and then repurposing that to create content answering those questions, because that's very smart. Jeff, what are you doing at Signal? What kind of content, like how did you change the strategy, or did you?
I would echo a lot of what Heather and Alp have already said. We've shifted our content marketing strategy in a couple of ways. One, of course, is to be much more aligned to being mission critical. All the other superfluous new features or things that are not mission critical just have kind of fallen by the wayside. There's less experimentation of maybe new offers that we think may open up a new opportunity. We're really sticking to what we know is our bread and butter and mission critical. And I think along the lines of what's already been said is, again, to be much more aligned to really being helpful. So mission critical and really helpful is the angle that we're taking. Of course, like a lot of other firms, I think we're COVIDifying the content, but trying a really well to not hijack that topic in a disingenuous way just to sell something. We talked a lot about that before we rolled out the content strategy, and we really felt like if we're going to align some of the contents to this COVID crisis, it truly has to be mission critical and useful. And then the last thing I think that we're doing is we're bringing in partners, helpful partners, to focus on best practices and tips. It's not only good for the target audience, but of course it's self-serving. It's good for us because with partners, we can leverage their audience as well.
Yeah.
So for instance, next week, we're hosting a corporate social responsibility webinar with CSR experts from JP Morgan and Anheuser-Busch InBev. So other PR firms or marketing teams can actually learn from them how to emerge from this crisis with like boosted brand equity. But again, it's got to be helpful.
Love it. That's great. Do you guys think this whole, and Heather talked about this whole idea of superfluous, high level, fluffy content is going to go away? People are going to realize we don't need to write content just to check a box saying one blog a week, but creating real content that is answering questions that customers are having.
I think the volume will still be there. I think when times get tough, you got to make more noise, and that's just the reality. But I think that there's going to be a shift to talking about what matters, but there's always a humanistic need for what I call infotainment, and people need to have a little bit of a. So when you define fluff content, like to me, I think those comedic, perfectly timed rant type, social post or whatever, can really be great in moments like this, as long as that's not the only thing you do, So it's just knowing your audience and knowing what you can get away with and where the line is that you don't want to cross, and knowing that maybe you've been serious for a while and now you need to show your light side. So there'll be experimentation. There'll be the same volume. There'll just be a little bit more of an eye to being authentic, maybe. Yeah.
Got it. No, that's great. So moving on, one question I had, and one of you touched on that. I think Heather, you touched on it, but let's start with this. Is obviously events are gone. Field sales and marketing has fundamentally changed. As a marketer, how are you helping or enabling the field sales and field marketing reps to get used to this new reality? I know, Accenture is a big organization with a lot of, I'm guessing, field rep and field reps. What are you doing helping them thrive in this current situation?
So I think it's one, getting better at virtual events. From all the offline events we're doing, improving the web and the digital experience, seeing an uplift of interest in companies that want to invest in Commerce Cloud across B2B and B2C because there's more online shopping, and partnering closely with sales as we run these virtual events and work with clients for digital, they want to invest in Commerce Cloud.
Jeff, what are you doing to help? Like, did you guys have a big field sales rep and marketing team at Signal?
Yeah, I think to help our field sales teams and our ADRs, we're having them be laser focused on hand raisers. So again, that's going to be enabled by intent and also by having them really engage from more of a helpful versus a sales approach. So the content that they're sending out and stimulating these conversations is more along the lines of what are you focused on? So for instance, we have templates out there that are essentially asking what is the number one thing that you need to tackle right now? And we start those conversations off with that. And if it's not aligned with our offering, the number one thing that they need to tackle right now, we point them into another direction if we know it's useful. And there's always time later to make the sale, but now is the time to really be, again, useful and establish meaningful relationships.
Love it. That's great. Heather, you talked about social, teaching the sales reps to be super targeted on LinkedIn, for example. What are you seeing? What are some things that you're helping or are enabling these field reps to get better at?
Because I guess most of the groups that we're working with not just the inside but the outside sales team. So they're looking to generate the hand raisers versus just beat on the ones that are raising their hands. So it's a lot about helping them leverage the content and the voice of the company and all the thought leadership assets at their disposal to actually put themselves out there, build up that personal brand, comment on people's posts, really do social right. And I think there's a huge gap of how enterprise salespeople today are really leveraging it as a channel. So, we're doing a lot of training and coaching and playbook development around how field sales can take all the great content we're helping the marketing team produce and not just rely on them, but actually then, go after that target account, but in the right way, but in a very, I'm noticing you, I'm not connecting with you yet, but I'm noticing you and you're looking back. And then a soft outreach, there's a strategy in how you do this without being creepy. And it's just getting everyone to think that way and leverage the content and the stuff that's marketing doing, but to build those relationships, leveraging social channels.
Awesome.
So that's not a overnight thing, but it's something that now I think most enterprise outside sales teams are saying, oh, this is important now. Now we have to actually really focus on this.
Yeah, that's great. So the final question that I had was, given all the different channels, as Alp mentioned, there's less traffic coming in and all these things. If you had to say, in your experience in the last 6 weeks, what channels have you guys been seeing performing the best in your world? I'll start with Jeff.
I think the channels that are performing best for us right now are, again, these helpful webinars. And to get as many as people as possible to those webinars, we rely on the typical integrated mix, which is a combination of intent, the email nurturing, of course, the partners that can really truly help our customers and our prospects with these mission critical solutions.
Love it. Heather?
I'm going to go a little off the other direction there. I agree with what you said, but you know, for me as a salesperson, what's working for me right now is old school word of mouth networking. I feel more connected to my network right now than I have in a long time, just because this gives us a reason to reach out and reconnect. So, you know, our business is growing right now, and it's mostly built on those relationships that we've had over the years and reconnecting and old school sales, really. And you know, we're leaning on our virtual events and partners and things of that nature. But just for our own business,
Yeah.
relationships, word of mouth are where it's what's moving the needle for us.
Amazing. Al?
So yeah, I think some good channels are companies that invested in search engine optimization. You know, they could have had their budget cut, reduced the team, but you know, they invested, so it's still running. Always on nurture, you know, even if budget cut, that's still going. Yeah, so I think those ones are good bets. In China, WeChat is, you know, leader for, you know, I think.
Oh, wow.
That's what's unique about that market. Mobile SMS, you know, and, you know, is having, you know, strong benefits. And I think there's interesting potential in like Facebook Messenger of companies that have got advanced for, you know, the right company. You were seeing like the 20x engagement there versus email. But during these times, I think it's, you know, your budget got cut, you know, you got less thing, search engine optimization, and then, you know, the always on nurture. So even if you're getting like less resources, you're producing results.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me see, what do we have in terms of, we'll just stop sharing, in terms of questions. So this is great. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see what kind of questions are coming in. So there is a question that has come in. It's from James. So what James is asking is, do you feel that companies will be more supportive of a personal brand being built under their roof coming into the new normal? So I think basically what they're saying is, do you see individual salespeople building their personal brand, representing their organization? Do you see that happening? What are you guys thinking?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's how the two piggyback off of each other, so that if there's something happening on the corporate social page, you're also echoing that and you're bringing it to your market and you're co-promoting in a way. So it's
Nice.
It's the echo effect of all of that, I think.
Great. Anyone else wants to add to that, and any comments to that around the personal brand building?
I would agree, and I think Heather already spoke to it quite a lot. You know, leveraging your own network and being truly authentic there. And for us, of course, we've encouraged our sales team and pretty much everybody in the company to do that, but not so much from a let's push content out to our networks. Really more along the lines of just reaching out on a personal basis. Say, hey, how are you doing? How can I help in any way, right? In B2B, of course, the sales cycles are very long, and the only way to really accelerate them is to understand how you can be helpful.
Love it. One question there is does it make sense to focus on more resilient markets? Obviously, you know, overall, some industries are hit harder than others. Travel and all those hospitality industries. Does it make sense to first identify which companies or which industries are more resilient to this economic crisis and then focus on them first? Is there any kind of segmentation are you guys doing?
I think it depends on what it is that you're offering and how you can help, right? So for us, at Signal Labs, we help very large enterprises who actually are tremendously impacted by this crisis. And what they need to do is be proactive in their brand perception measuring how they're going about doing that in a very methodical way. So we don't necessarily look for a particular industry that is immune to this and has budget. We're agnostic to that.
Got it. One question I have is, recently, I think Sales Hacker or Outreach, which is part of that, they recently published a survey where they surveyed 600 salespeople, talking about how this has impacted their pipeline, their forecast, their quota, and all that. And across the board, they saw, they have already reduced their targets for Q2 70%, or a significant fraction of them saying they're not going to hit it, the targets for the year and things like that. From a marketing perspective, if the target is, whether it's for yourself or your client, is it MQL or revenue generated? Have you had that discussion, or has that process taken place where you go, well, our goal was to generate this much demand based on the current situation, the reduced traffic, companies going out of business, we're reducing it. Have you seen anything like that? If so, can you quantify some numbers? Heather, do you want to go first?
I was like, who is that for specifically? I'm seeing it more on the marketing side. I'm seeing marketing budgets being pulled back and being completely reevaluated. And I'm sure they're having those internal discussions based on new sales forecasting and how they need to shape those budgets. I'm not in those discussions, but I know it's happening. And I think that there'll be a natural adjustment, but some of our clients are in, like our clients in the data space or clients in the cybersecurity space, they're killing it right now. So their problem is keeping up with demand. So I think you just have to know your value proposition and know where, what, again, back to that helpful question, where can you be helpful? In my world, for like our energy clients that are having major turmoil, and they're having layoffs, they pull back their budgets. In a weird way, our value prop almost goes up more to those organizations because we're able to do more with less. And we're a partner that if you're a skeleton crew and if budgets have been cut, we're able to give you that kind of edge. For a client that's doing well and killing it and can't keep up with demand, they have the money to actually do advertising and to do the things that you want to do to keep that momentum. So we just see ourselves shifting to, okay, this client needs us this way, and this client needs us this way, and really understanding where you're gonna offer true value at the end of the day.
It's awesome. Al, any thoughts there, or from your side?
I think Heather answered it. You had a different question, or?
No, the same question.
Yeah, I think Heather answered it really well. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. So I think that's a good point of view. But yeah, I don't have anything to add beyond what Heather said.
Thanks once again, and have a great rest of your day.